Hey, welcome back. My apologies for not being here the last couple of days. I'm in a chapter of my life where helping people with big things that go on, like, you know, passing from this life to the next. So that's been going on the last couple of days. So I've not been here with you. What we're going to do today is we're going to do a little recap real quick. The first day, what I suggested was that it makes it, these are the three big areas that we think about. This one, this has to do with money. This has to do with relatedness and achievement down here. And this has to do with your health, your internal life. So the first day I said, you're going to treat yourself very differently in terms of whatever kind of plans you make for improving your health, your relationships, or your life in the marketplace, depending on, various meanings that you put to the same behavior, including the behavior in you. And, these over here were suggested as better narratives than these in terms of some sort of life success. And we moved into the a little bit about the more map, right? That here's you're built for more, built for legacy. And the dual nature that human beings have of being and doing means that we want to be good at love. We want to be good at achievement, love, and contribution. And this particular narrative that I recommended was the idea of it's ironically, it's hard to get more when you don't believe there's enough or that you're enough or that you have enough already. Then, because I've been talking about for a while this idea of being above the line or below the line, this, the recap on this one was that there are particular narratives that really make it just about impossible to get above the line and stay above the line, including like victimology, entitlement, um, longing. And so the idea was shifting these narratives into, there's a difference, just understanding you can be a victim and probably have been a victim, but that doesn't have to become a theory about how life works. And there's some things you're entitled to, most things are earned. An awful lot of anger and aggression has to do with entitlement, and an awful lot of unresolved longing, like sort of a broken heart about a job or a relationship. Is like there's only one that would be fulfilling and satisfying and worth it. And that has to be really shifted to, we live in a world that's where there's extra for all of us, really. Then we went into this narrative shifting methodology, like how do you move away from the status quo, and what's the methodology for the full methodology for getting above the line, staying above the line, and being more and doing more, loving more, contributing more. Talked a little bit about, we think there's a sequence around here that you got to work on getting above the line first, then working on your love life at home, working on doing things well in the marketplace. And then, and that sort of naturally goes into you making your mark. So today, what I promised, put this back here, what I promised that I would do for this next class is I would talk about some particular change rituals that just seem to help just about everybody. This, just back to this again, this idea of getting above the line, for the most part, that's about health. And when we split health around here, we split that into these four parts. We split it into physical health and emotional health and I did physical, intellectual health. You can also think of these as fitness. Which one am I missing? Spiritual. No, there's probably a particular sequence to those people who understand this stuff better than I did. I mean, I tell you what I used to think it was. I'm not certain anymore. I used to think this is primary, followed by this, followed by this, followed by that. I'm not sure. I started doing them in this kind of way where they all sort of mush around with each other, because there's an awful lot of people who do things like, pray while they're running, or while they're running, they feel like their spiritual life is being developed. Or I often feel that if I'm reading the right stuff spiritually, I'm growing as I am intellectually. So here's, I just want to suggest two major change rituals that I feel like just about everybody needs to get serious about. And one of them, the first one really, is your wind down routine. And most people do not appreciate the significance of this for themselves as an adult, but they certainly, most parents appreciate the significance of a wind down routine for children. They have a particular time that the kids go to bed. They really do try to get the kids to wind down. For adults, I think a way to think about winding down is, how do you wind down spiritually? How do you wind down physically? For me, like a hot tub, hot bath is a great physical wind down. Emotionally, I think for the most part, I think the emotional wind down part of the day is to just, it's to grieve it. It's to let go of that day. The intellectual wind down, one of the things that people talk about, and it's accurate, it's not overly popular in some spaces, is that the intellectual wind down is kind of watching some brain dead television before you go to sleep. The bottom line on this is there are particular that a good wind down routine, you're going to be thinking about all of these, like, how do I tend to myself spiritually, physically, emotionally, intellectually, in a way that winds down. Usually a wind down routine that's good, it starts at a particular time, and it ends down here. I mean, I don't know how many things are going to be in between. I'm just going to do a box something down here, but it ends with a particular time, with a particular bedtime, with a particular lights out time, which is exactly what, if you're a parent, you did for your children. And this is the thing, it's a gift to yourself, lights out. What do you do in the meantime? There are multiple things that help. It helps to do a little bit of straightening up. There's an awful lot of research about what clutter does to people. Straightening up, electronics off, cool, dark bedroom seems to be the best. Sleeping environment, cool and dark bedroom. That's dark, not dank. There you go, dark. There are multiple things, but the main thing is for you to think about. You, some people do some reflective journaling, like it helps them sort of let go of the day. Some people do some simple little stretching at night. So this is one. And the other one then is, what's your morning routine? What's your wind up routine going to be? And in many ways, this is sort of it's the flip side of this. But if you're thinking, how am I going to, get going in the morning? There are three kinds of morning routines that seem to work for people. One is starting with something physical. There's some people who have a good morning routine going, and what they do is their feet are in their running shoes and they're out the door, within a few minutes of getting up. There's some people who start it with leisure. This is a group of people who grab a cup of coffee and the paper and they read in the morning, and then they start something else. And there's a group of people who do a little bit of work. Now, if you want to map those, usually, though not always, this is sort of an intellectual wind up. Not always. This is sort of an emotional wind up. And if you watch little kids, they often do this. Sometimes they just leave the bed and then they come out and they sit on the couch for a while, and then they play with a little something, and then they get going. This physical, exercise is what I meant to put here. And that's sort of a physical wind up. There isn't the thing about when people start here. So these are three groups of people generally when they study people with good morning routines. The people, let's see, let me move this a little bit for you there. There we go. There we go. This physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual, many people. Right. So these, when they're looking at people, there are three main places where people start. But anybody with a really good morning routine, they have all of these one way or the other. The spiritual is often, it's reading scripture, it's reading some kind of essays, it's meditation, prayer. And these morning routines and evening routines, if you're doing them well, that says prayer, this should be somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes. And those two, what you're trying to get over here is you're trying to sleep solid. I always say, for the most part, if you want to think about, here's a nice little narrative shift for you. Tomorrow starts tonight. Tomorrow starts tonight. If you wind down and get really solid sleep, your morning routine goes better. You end up getting up at the same time, which tends to be pretty good. Getting up at the same time tends to be something that people with good morning routines do. And then getting all of these in there somehow, it doesn't matter where you start. But just, start at the one that is most attractive to you. This is the one I do. It's just a habit more than anything. And then I move into this and I move into this. And this is sort of woven into all sorts of things I do in the morning. Actually, now that I'm saying that, this is more how it goes. Just exactly like that. That's the order for me. There's no particular order that's significant. All right, I know this is going long, but if you did nothing else in terms of shifting your narrative to a wind down routine is critical to getting above the line and staying above the line and taking the more that you are meant for and making it, and getting a morning routine going so that you are energized and able to really get yourself in this doing world, this being world, and really being good at it. Those change rituals, if you were doing nothing other than a good wind down and a good morning routine, that's just sort of gold, that sort of suggestion. Okay, I think I'll be able to stick with daily. As I said, we just had a little bit of having to help with some end of life stuff around here. So, all right, see you tomorrow.